whole interviewing process that you're going to go through. So if you have any interest in that, we have to nominate people by tomorrow, end of the day. So a few of you like Angelo, Jamel, I'm looking to talk to both of you to kind of go through what the pros are and see if you want to be nominated, because there's very limited spots. Basically only 10 kids out of how many juniors are there right now?
131 or 129.
Yes. So it's very prestigious. Only 31 kids will get those spots. So we want to make sure that you want them and we'll use them. It's fair. So I hope that answers your question, Talia. And we will go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm gonna let Ms. Vasquez get us started.
Yes, so thank you, Mrs. Koschel. Thank you everyone for joining us. And if you couldn't join with us live, I hope you still get important information during this recording, which we will be sending out. So tonight we have with us I'm Ms. Vasquez. I am the junior counselor. So I've had the privilege of working with the class of 2021 this school year. We also have Mrs. Koschel, who is the college and career counselor at Phillips Academy. And so this is almost like a handoff where she will now be taking the reins for post-secondary work with the class of 2021 primarily. So she's going to be a fantastic resource for you, and you'll learn more about that tonight. We also have the other counselors, wonderful counselors, Ms. Fleming and Mrs. Alexander joining us, as well as Ms. Clegan, who is the counseling clerk for us. So she does a lot of the behind the work stuff you guys don't get to see. Okay, so this is the class of 2021 Rising Senior Meeting. We're going to go over briefly graduation requirements to include Learn, Plan, Succeed, which you may, and I hope you remember us talking about. We're going to discuss how you can prepare for your senior year, things during your senior year, so senior year information, including applications and activities. I'm going to briefly talk about some summer school options for you all. And at the end, if there are any questions that have been posed during this webinar, we will save some time at the end to get those answered for you. Okay, so the graduation requirements. Hopefully you all know that you need 4 whole credits of English in order to obtain a CPS diploma. So that is 1 whole credit in English 1, 2, 3, and 4. You must pass all 4 years of English. You also need at least 3 years of science, so lab sciences. One of them must be biology. 2 of them can be from either chemistry, physics, environmental science, or earth, space, and science. At Phillips, we only offer currently biology, chemistry, and physics because the class of 2021 is the last year that gets to choose the last 2 lab sciences. Every other class must have biology, chemistry, and physics. So likely those will be your 3. We also need you to have 3 full credits of social science, 1 from world studies, 1 from US history, and half a credit of civics. The other half can be any social science that counts, and your counselor will let you know what counts towards it. Often it will be a second half of civics because civics is a full year course. So really it's a credit of civics. You're going to need at least 3 credits of math, 1 being algebra, geometry, and algebra with trigonometry. Again, you must pass all of those. You need at least 2 fine arts credits, and at Phillips, those are drama or band, digital imaging, not digital media. That's an important distinguishment to make. Creative writing and speech can count if you've taken them at Phillips in the last couple of years. And 2 world language credits. So at Phillips, we offer Spanish. So you would need to pass Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. You need at least 2 years of PE or JROTC. That would count in lieu of PE. 4 years is best. Illinois is a state where we advise all students to take 4 years of PE, but you need at least 2 to graduate. You need 1 whole credit, so both semesters of exploring computer science in order to graduate. And then additionally, you need at least 4 elective credits. So an elective credit is any credit that goes beyond the minimum that I just described. So let's say you take those 2 extra years of PE, those 2 classes would count towards your elective credits. For non-credit requirements, you need at least 2 service learning projects. 1 can come from any class, but the second one must be a civics service learning project. You need to pass the Constitution test. You need to pass financial education, which is a part of one of your courses. Often that is civics. You need to pass driver's ed. For those things, I know things have been up in the air with COVID-19, so this is all up to date as far as we know right now. If the graduation requirements change for the class of 2021, we will let families know, we'll let students know, but as it stands now, this is what is required. What probably will be required still is FAFSA, so that is completing your FAFSA, your financial aid application, which Phillips has had students do this whole time anyway, so that really wouldn't be too new for Phillips Academy. And something called Learn, Plan, Succeed, which means you must have a concrete post-secondary plan. Mrs. Koschel will talk more about that in a moment.
Yes.
Yeah. So as I was stressing, I said these were the minimum graduation requirements and you needed at least these courses. But at Phillips Academy, we really aren't in the business of doing the bare minimum to get by. We are in the business of preparing you for your future. So most colleges do want to see 4 years of math and science. If you've done your 3 years of math already, that's fantastic. Good for you. But most programs want you to do 4 years. And so we really, really stress putting seniors into a 4th year math. Also, science is right up there. If you want a job in healthcare, a career in healthcare, it's really important for you to be taking math and science. And not only that, but a math and science that would challenge you and make you stronger in those subjects. So either AP Bio and transitional math or dual credit math at a higher level for those who want a career in healthcare is going to be super important. If you want to go into engineering, I know a lot of our students want to be engineers or work in computer science. Those majors for college are very competitive. So you should be taking the most rigorous coursework you can at Phillips Academy in order to set yourself apart from other undergraduate applicants. So that is really important. If you're hoping to be an engineer, those spots at universities are limited to the hardest working students. So you need to prove that with your transcript and take harder classes. If you want to be a lawyer, if you want to go into political science, criminology, history, you need to be in the hardest English class you can take and do well in. You want to be challenging yourself to grow, and higher level history classes. If you would like to be like an actor or a musician, you should be challenging yourself with fine arts. So you should be looking into Gallery 37. I emailed a handful of students over these past weeks who were interested in Gallery 37. If you are interested in learning a little bit more, please reach out to me. I'm happy to send you the application. Overall, senior year at Phillips, you can earn plenty of college credit, and that is so huge because you're saving so much money. You're saving money and time. If you can leave Phillips with even 3 college credits, you're saving yourself up to $3,000 or more dollars. Another reason we put students in 4th year math, if they're college bound or just in general, is because students so often struggle with college level math. If you do not place into college level math at your university next year, you might have to take a remedial math class that they will charge you for and you won't get credit towards your degree for. And we do not want that for you. We don't think it's fair. So we want you to be as best prepared as you can. So that's where transitional math or dual credit math would come into place. So because of the COVID-19 situation, your senior year first semester is going to weigh more heavily in your application process than it normally would. Typically, and I said this all during the year, your junior year is really the last chance colleges have. But now because of the situation, a lot of them might wait until the mid-year to make a final decision on scholarship amounts or even acceptance. So your first semester senior year is going to be that much more important. So keep that in mind as you're creating a schedule. Make a nice balance of challenging classes, but also classes that will, not stress you too much out. So you have to be able to balance it, and we can work with you to make that happen.
Yes. So one thing I wanted to note with all of those requirements, because it's hard to keep track of all of those things you have to do to graduate, you can see your graduation summary in Aspen. So when you log into your Aspen account as a student, if you click on My Info and then Transcript, there's a little tab that says Graduation Summary. So, because it's like 20 plus things to remember, right? So instead of having to memorize all of that or having to wait for your counselor to respond, you can actually check out your graduation requirements and make sure that you're on track. This is a really good skill for college as well, because sometimes your academic advisor is wrong. So it's important to keep track of your own requirements just to make sure that they aren't, putting you in the wrong classes, or like a lot of times students at the beginning of the year will let us know like, hey, I need a third history. I never took it. So it's a good way to make sure that you stay on track for graduation. Learn, Plan, Succeed is something that did not get waived for our 2020 seniors, so I'm sure that it will stay the same for 2020. It serves two purposes. One of them is to make sure that we are helping you get where you want to go after high school and that you're not getting left behind. But also, you are required to show proof of what you're doing after high school and what your plan is. It doesn't have to be your forever plan. It just has to be what you think that you're going to do after high school with some proof. So if you're going into the military, it would be your enlistment letter. If you were going to college, it would be your financial aid. And that's so we can see your financial aid award and make sure it is feasible for you to be able to afford that college, and that you won't be taking out too many loans. And then for work, it could be a continuation of employment if you're already working, like some of our seniors this year were doing, or it could be an offer of employment, like you just got a job. So all of those pathways are awesome, and we want you to go wherever you want to go after high school. So it's no pressure to go to a certain pathway. With trade school, we also consider that college because you get an award letter when you go to trade school as well. There's other pathways too that are not as common, like things like Job Corps or doing an apprenticeship with a trade. And all of those things are something that we can direct you to after high school. So Ms. Vasquez is going to talk a little bit about what we can do for you this summer and how you can kind of get yourself prepared so that senior year is less stressful, and then you get more money for school if that's the route you want to go.
Thank you, Mrs. Koschel. Yes, so as she said, senior year is very stressful, and you can make it, set yourself up so that when you come into the building or start your senior year, whichever, you're setting yourself up for success.
Sorry. Next one.
Okay. So your brag sheet. This is something we have talked about before. I'm not sure how many juniors have completed this yet, but you can get it off of Naviance or the Google Classroom. I have it posted in there. It is essentially a bunch of questions trying to get to know you a little bit better. So what makes you, you, right? Every one of you in the class of 2021 has something that makes you remarkable and special. So it's just trying to get down to it. What clubs, what sports, what after-school activities, any hardships you've overcome, or responsibilities at home have you had to deal with during your high school career? We want to know it all. This is going to help with your personal statement, which we'll talk about in a second, but also your letters of recommendation. So with your letters of recommendation, you should have somewhere between minimum of 2, maximum of 4 letters of recommendation. If you give your brag sheet to teachers, they will be able to write you a stellar letter of rec, which is going to be very critical for you. So you want to hand your brag sheet and send a nice polite email asking for a letter of recommendation to teachers who know you well. And you also want it to be classes you did well in. And it's really good if they relate to your desired major in some way, right? So if you want to go into engineering, your letter of recommendation is going to mean more if it comes from a science or math teacher than from maybe a fine arts teacher or a PE teacher, although they're just as valuable as teachers, right? So you want to gear it towards your desired major. Send them your brag sheet. Give them at least 2 full weeks, right? Because they're doing this on their own time because they love you. Phillips staff loves our students. Give them 2 full weeks. And then when they send you the letter of recommendation or say they've completed it, send them a thank you. It's professional. It's how we get things done in the professional world. So as I said, the personal statement. This is really important, and it's something students really struggle with. All right, so I know some of you wrote some for your English classes this year. I recommend you hold on to that copy. All right, that could be a really good first draft or final draft. Essentially, it needs to be 1 to 2 pages, double spaced. I need you to proofread it until you have it almost memorized. That's how proofread it needs to be. And it's so important. This is particularly where students struggle. You need to be a storyteller. Tell your own story in your personal statement. You can't just state facts. Oftentimes we want just facts in English papers or papers for school research papers, but this needs to be almost like you're telling like a movie script, almost like you're explaining what it's like to be you. And if you're not really grasping what I'm saying, that is okay. I know it's really hard to understand, kind of nebulous, but we can help you with it. Some commonly used prompts center on what obstacles you faced, what goals you've achieved, or what goals you've set for yourself. Maybe why do you want to be what you want to be? What led you to that decision? And you might also want to include why the school you're applying to is a good fit. Why would you be a good fit for that school? What would you bring for them? And what would you maybe get out of your experience with that university or program? Share your personal statement with your counselors. We can add comments. We can help proofread. I will say though, only send it to me after you've proofread it. I can tell when you've just sent it to me and you haven't proofread it yourself. So you proofread it once, send it to me. I'm happy to edit, add comments. Ms. Kaushal, the whole counseling team, we are so happy to get to know students better by reading your personal statements. DePaul University has free essay help. It is a resource we've sent out in the past, and I can definitely reshare that information with you. So if you prefer help from real college students or real professionals, DePaul is there for you. I also registered every junior this year for a personal essay writing boot camp the first week of June. I wasn't able to access how many of Phillips' students attended because it was a private special college essay guy. He actually works with really affluent schools. Most people have to pay quite a bit of money. And I know this summer they have some more programs. So keep your eye out. If you get emails from College Essay Guy, it's because it's a resource that Mrs. Kaushal and I have put you in touch with. Okay, so there's even more you can do to get ahead this summer if you're really wanting to, and I think it's a good idea. Your activities resume is different from your brag sheet, but it's very similar. So this is a resume. I know all of you are really familiar with resumes. It's just what have you done during high school? So extracurricular activities, awards, honors, what hard classes you've taken, that sort of thing can be put in your activities resume. The purpose of having this resume is that when you apply to scholarships and universities, they're going to ask point blank, every single one of them wants to know what were you doing? What clubs were you a part of? How were you supportive of your school community? Universities want students who are going to be a part of their community. So you need to show that you are part of the Phillips community. So having an activities resume is going to really help you streamline the application process later. And then your GPA, so your grade point average. It's a really good idea just to memorize because you're gonna be asked it upwards of 100 times your senior year. So just to be able to say right off it's a 3.02 or whatever it may be. And then also memorizing your rank, especially if rank is important to you, or some schools want to know if you're in the top 25% or top 10%. And if you know your rank, you can decide pretty quickly if you're in that category. Hopefully you know the difference between your weighted and unweighted GPA. If you don't, here's a quick explainer. Your unweighted GPA is just the numerical value of every class you've taken and what grade you've gotten in that class. Your weighted GPA takes into account the class rigor. So how hard were the classes you were taking? You took honors, AP, dual credit, your weighted GPA will be higher than your unweighted. It's also a good tell for universities to know if you took difficult classes, if those two GPAs are the same, that means you might not have challenged yourself yet into a harder course. But if it's different, then they'll know, maybe it's a little bit lower, but the student is challenging themselves, and that's a good indicator that they want to grow as a student. You can ask for a copy of your transcript. That's where it will show your GPA. It's also accessible on Netflix or on Naviance, which is cps.edu/Naviance. And you're gonna log in with your CPS credential, so it's the exact same. Testing. So the class of 2021 wasn't able to take the SAT during the normal time in April, but there will be SAT opportunities as far as we know in the fall. So there's some major benefits to taking the SAT once it is allowed to be given again. And you can take it 2 times for free. Well, you can sign up 2 times for free. And I say sign up because if you sign up and you do not attend, that still counts. So you then only have 1 more try left. So if you sign up, go take the test. And the reason I think you should take the test is because scholarships will likely still want to see test scores. Some universities are still going to want to see test scores. The upside of that is if you don't score as well as you were hoping, you don't have to submit that score. So really you don't lose anything by taking the test. It's not going to cost you any money. I know a lot of you were studying really hard for the SAT anyway. So this is really your chance to prove what you know. So there are going to be some test optional schools, which is fantastic. There are going to be plenty for the class of 2021 due to COVID-19. The con with this, and it could be a pro or con depending on the type of student you've been, is that your other parts of your application will be counted even more heavily. Without a test score, they're going to look really with a fine-tooth comb about your letters of recommendation, your personal statement, your class rigor. So again, how hard have the classes you've taken been? And most importantly, your GPA. All right, so if you would like to, and I think it's a good idea, request a copy of your transcript from me or Mrs. Koschel. This is how you would read it. I'm hopeful that all of you are really familiar with how to read your own transcript, but if you're not, that's okay. This would be on the second page at the very bottom. It's going to show your cumulative weighted GPA, so that means your GPA across all 3 years, and your unweighted GPA. So you can tell from this student right off the bat, you don't have to see the rest of their transcript to know that they have not taken any honors classes or advanced classes yet, right? That might be a good goal for this student, this pretend student. You can also see how many credits they've earned. The student has earned 14 and class rank. And Mrs. Koschel will talk about rank in a moment.
Okay, so rank is not a static thing, which means what your rank is at the end of this year will not change until semester 1 and then semester 2 of your senior year. So the rank that you're going to end with now is going to be that rank all the way till February 2021. However, if you end up being number 1 in 2021 of February, that does not mean you'll be the valedictorian in June of your graduating class. So just make sure that you focus on yourself because rank isn't the end all be all. But also know that if you are number 1 or number 2 in your class at the end of semester 1, that might not be the case at the end of the year, depending on what your classmates take and how their grades are. Rank is not as important as one might think. So although it's not a bad thing to be competitive about your rank, we don't want you to be so competitive that you're not focusing on filling out your scholarships. You're not focusing on doing your college applications, because those are going to push you forward into after high school, as opposed to just focusing on the moment of high school. So we really just want to encourage you to compete with yourself and do the best that you can, and focus more on what your outcomes are after high school. So just a caveat. Also with rigorous classes, of course, we want you to challenge yourself, but we don't want you to take so many rigorous classes that you're not doing well in any of them. That is not the goal. You really want to think about what classes relate to the careers you're interested in and challenge yourself with those classes. So as Ms. Vasquez had mentioned, if you were interested in the healthcare field, like being an OB-GYN, you should be looking at Jumpstart to Jobs. You should be considering taking dual credit, bio. I think we might have that next year. Doing those things that are prepping you for where you want to go. Or if you were interested in trade school, then you should be looking at Chicago Builds or other programs along those lines, so that you're getting what you need for your life after high school. Okay, so senior year, it's basically here. You guys are basically seniors, right? So if you were a college athlete, see, feel free to ask questions too. I forgot to mention that. We are going to answer them. So I see the little chat button popping over there. If you're a college athlete, these are some things to note. If you are planning on playing in college, you have to have a 2.3 core GPA. So that means this semester is actually important, and you cannot blow off senior year either, especially if you need some more core credit classes to make NCAA requirements. You should have some recruitment video. If you don't have video to send coaches, they're going to have a really hard time recruiting you if they work across the country and they can't see you play. You need to be playing throughout high school. You should be playing in your senior year. And if you haven't been recruited already, you would need to reach out directly to college athletics coaches. So you can do that on the college's website in their recruitment page usually. Or you could take a tip from a lot of our football players and reach out to coaches on Twitter and have conversations with them. But if you're not actively being recruited, you need to start talking to coaches now. D1, D2, D3, NAIA, NJCAA, which is National Junior College Athletics, are all valuable routes to play college athletics. D1 is the only one that's a full ride, and a very small percentage of students nationwide get recruited for D1 athletics. So we want to be realistic and know that you want to have a backup plan as well, because if you get injured, you might not be able to play. So D1 or D2 and D3 usually is, D2 is partial scholarship money. So you would want additional scholarship money and you would still want to apply for scholarships. And then D3 is all academic. NAIA as well is partial. So you would need additional money to pay for school. And all of these things, if you are an athlete and you are listening, you need to make sure you complete the NCAA clearinghouse portal if you have any interest in playing NCAA athletics. So those are some caveats for that. So your grades can't slip senior year if you're an athlete, because it could jeopardize your ability to play in college. Choosing a college, this is what your summer is for. And honestly, there are 4,000 colleges out there in the United States. So the better you know yourself, the better you're going to choose a college. There are so many colleges out there. Just because one doesn't want you, it may feel kind of hurtful if you get rejected, but there are so many other ones out there that you want to just kind of move past that and try to find the one that's your best fit. So you're going to want to get to know your interests and preferences and discover what specific qualities you are looking for. Do you want a school that's really diverse, a school with small class sizes, an HBCU, an all women's school? So you want to kind of look at yourself first and then create an initial list of colleges that matches this criteria. You'll be able to sort your colleges into reach, maybe, and likely categories. A reach school means that it's going to be way above pretty much everybody's criteria to be able to get into school. So they might require almost a perfect SAT score or a near perfect GPA. Yeah, Ms. Vasquez, that's a good quote. You can do a lot of different research on Naviance, for example, but there's also things like FIS Guide to Colleges is super helpful. College Express has a ton of lists. So if you're like, I want to go to a college that's LGBTQ friendly, and that has a good mix of diversity, you can find lists for that. Maybe school or a MASH school is probably a school that's right around your GPA and test score if you have one. And then a likely school is a school where your GPA is way above it and you know 100% you're going to get in. I'm definitely getting into this school. So you want to have a little bit of mix of that so you can definitely get into some of the schools that you want to go to. And then maybe your dream school could be a reach. But you don't want to have too many reaches where you feel disappointed that you didn't get accepted. So go ahead and apply. 6 to 12 schools max recommended, because once you get into 30, 40 schools, it's really hard to keep track of where you applied and why you applied. But getting to know yourself first would be an important thing to do over the summer, and we will send you some resources to do some quizzes and such. This is a little chart that just talks about reach, target, and safety schools that we just discussed. So reach for most people, for example, schools like University of Chicago, only 1% of applicants that apply get in. So I wouldn't invest a bunch of effort in schools like University of Chicago, Duke, I'm trying to think who else is really, really high, Harvard, Yale. Go ahead and apply if you're really interested in, but just know that it's very, very hard to get in. And if you really examine a school, you might even find out that you might not even really like going there. A lot of students base their choices for college just on a name. When there's so many good schools out there you're missing if you only pay attention to the Big Ten schools or those Ivy schools that are most familiar. So here's just some examples broken into category. So where you see the black, very selective colleges, that means, like I said before, it's going to be only a very small percentage of applicants that are accepted. Selective, these are going to be a little more obtainable depending on your GPA. And then somewhat selective and on down. So all of these colleges are good. There's nothing wrong with Columbia. I'm a graduate of Roosevelt. You can get a solid education and still get jobs. But really what you want to focus on is what is the best fit for you and where are you going to feel comfortable? Because you don't just want to go to school, you want to graduate. Another tip with that I didn't mention with 2-year schools, they are really awesome for one, being able to get a job right away. So you can do a certificate program in things like radiology or welding and come out making a decent amount of money, like $30, $40 an hour, more than people with a bachelor's. Or you can take classes for free at the city colleges or a 2-year college and then transfer to the 4-year of your dreams without having to take out a bunch of loans. So don't discount city colleges or 2-year colleges because of the reputation issue. You really want to do what's best for yourself. SAT, most likely we will probably be able to offer it to seniors at school if we are in school in the fall. We have no idea. But the next tentative date is August 29th, and we will be keeping an eye on that for you and kind of letting you know if you're interested in taking it, if it's available. Some other things to think about is costs, and a lot of students don't think about that till the end of the year. So just some examples. Alabama A&M, we always have a ton of students apply there. It's HBCU. Usually they'll try to charge families almost $30,000 out of pocket after financial aid in order to go there. So you could choose another HBCU that's just as high of quality and maybe only pay $7,000 out of pocket. This is the same situation with Clark Atlanta. If you want to live in Atlanta, Morehouse, Spelman, all those options are out there too, and actually are more affordable. Or you could look at places like Savannah State, and then you're going to save yourself a lot of money instead of going to Clark Atlanta and trying to take out enough money to buy a car every single year that you were in college. Also to think about, if you apply early to those schools like Alabama or Clark Atlanta, anywhere that's more expensive, the more access you're going to have to scholarships than if you apply, say, in April. So that's why applying early is super important. But you also want to have something that's financially affordable as a backup. The FAFSA that we discussed is going to be a state of Illinois requirement for all students for graduation. So you will be required to do the FAFSA. It does require a parent's information unless you are a parent of a child and you're in high school and you pay for over 50% of their care, or if you have a legal guardian, or I'm trying to think if there's another one. There's one more. Or if you're married, but I don't think anyone at Phillips is currently married and a student, but I could be surprised. So you can kind of get an idea of what your family's FAFSA situation is and how much money you'll qualify for by doing a FAFSA forecaster. You could just Google it and you'll find one. Or there's something called net price calculator, where you can see how much a school would cost, a specific school would cost your family based on your finances. So we can help you over the summer with some of these tools. We can also help your family and you set up your FAFSA ID. So when FAFSA does open, you're immediately ready to fill it out, because you can get $12,000 for free if you stay in Illinois, and over $6,000 if you go out of state. And that's just free money. You don't have to pay it back. And you're definitely going to need it for college, because colleges are a little bit on the pricey side. Scholarships, you guys can apply now, and CPS students are already winning scholarships for doing basically barely nothing. So College Board is a really good one where you can win $500 for taking 10 minutes putting your college list in there. It's barely anything. You can get, I think, $1,000 for just indicating that you completed your FAFSA next year as a senior. So these are minimal things. Like if someone told you, I'm going to give you $1,000 for taking 15 minutes of your time to type in a college list, do it. That's easy. And it's winnable because CPS students are winning. CPS Academic Works, you're going to use your CPS email and password to log into that website. And you can apply for scholarships that are specifically for CPS students. And there's some for juniors already available. So I would highly suggest that as well. And just note that only about 1% of students in the US, again, obtain a full ride. So you can make your own full ride, which a lot of CPS seniors do by applying for a bunch of different scholarships. But as far as like the expectation that I'm going to get a full ride, it's highly unlikely without you putting in some decent effort. I would recommend for you juniors who know seniors, maybe talk to people like Destiny, Ahmad, Robert, and get an idea of what they did to make scholarship process easier. If you have your personal statement, your GPA and all those things on hand before the beginning of the year, it's really going to take you 10 minutes to knock out a scholarship, and you could just keep pumping out the same essay every single time. So then it becomes super easy to fill scholarships out. Ms. Vasquez too said, memorize your social security number. So true, because you need it for college applications and you need it for your FAFSA and for jobs. Also note the more college credits that you take in high school, and I know Vasquez mentioned this, but you can save thousands of dollars by doing dual credit with Dr. Fitzpatrick, with Mr. Jackson, or doing Jumpstart, and save yourself time and money in college. Most of our kids who do that graduate a year early from college, so you're saving yourself time in school. So here's your timeline, everybody. You get your documents all together before September 1st, and then you're ready to apply. FAFSA opens October 1st. For some colleges, you can apply a little bit before September 1st, but not too many. So just get everything ready to go so you're ready when the applications open. If you apply by early decision, so those are November 1st or December 1st deadlines, then you'll know where you got into by January, February, and then less stress in your second semester senior year. You can just chill with your college decision, start getting your finances together. If you apply early too, you will get first access to the pot of money that colleges have. So basically they have like a sack of money at the school, and then whoever's applying, they keep taking from the sack, take. And then if you start applying to the colleges in March, the sack is empty. There's no more Santa presents in there. So it's really important to apply early so that you can get access to all that merit money. And then March, April is when you'll see your financial aid award letter, which is a letter that shows you exactly how much the school is giving you in money and how much you would have to pay, if anything, hopefully not. And then May 1st is when you would make your deposits and your decision. So that's the timeline. How would you apply? There's a couple options. One, you go directly on the college's website. Like if I was looking for NIU, I would look up NIU undergrad application and apply that way. You're always going to be an undergraduate and again, a freshman. Soon enough, you will be a freshman again. So that's the one you should be picking is undergrad. You can apply for something called Common App, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. This is for very specific schools. So look at the list of schools for Common App before you decide to apply. Because you're kind of going to be mad if you want to apply to Western, for example, and they're not on there. I think they are, but there might be some colleges you're interested in that are not on Common App. So don't go applying for it unless you know your colleges are on there, because it is time consuming. It'll take you a couple hours at least to fill it out in completion. But once you do, you can pop a bunch of schools on there and it'll ship out the same application to all the schools. If you're interested in HBCUs, I love the Common Black app. It has 45 HBCUs on it, and we often get a fee waiver code so that you don't have to pay for the application fee. That's another thing to mention, Phillips. We will have you either fill out a fee waiver electronically. I'll have to figure out how that works if we're doing remote, but you would get a fee waiver so you don't have to pay the college application fees, which range from like $25 up to $50. So that can be pretty expensive when you're applying, but we will help you take care of that. Okay. And then if you're going into other pathways, we don't want people to feel that you have to go to college. So whatever you're deciding to do, we're going to base our advice and help for whatever pathway you want to go to. Okay. And then also help you with whatever career you're interested in, making sure you're taking the right pathway to get to that career. Because if you want to be a surgical tech, for example, you just need 2 years of school and you're done. Or if you wanted to be a CNA, it's a couple 6 to 8 week program, then you're done. So we want to make sure we're giving you the right guidance for those career interests. Senior fees and activities. We want to make sure that you are able to participate in senior activities without being stressed out about any previous fees owed. So if you're having any like financial struggles right now, or you have no idea what your balance is and you had like 50 temps that cost a lot of money. So you would want to find out maybe now. Ms. Ramsey is our business manager, and you could contact her over the summer or at the beginning of the year. Would highly recommend it because it's so not fun having to wait in line to pay fees when you're trying to graduate and get your diploma and you're in your cap and gown. This is also a really good time to talk about any issues that might have happened with the business office to avoid having a huge balance. Usually 125 is the senior student fee, but I'm not sure what things will happen like next year, but it would be good for you to figure out if you have a balance for temps or rental shirts, etc. Activity fees really vary depending on what you all want to do. So if you want to have a really awesome senior year with great activities and we can do stuff in person, hopefully, we want to start planning that now. And it really should be student driven, because otherwise what happens is Miss Koshel is like, oh, I guess we'll just pick this because nobody gives me any input and it might not be what you actually want to do. So if you all start talking as a class over the summer about what you want to do, we can have more fun activities that are thoughtfully planned with student voice included, as opposed to put together by adults for students. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to housing and enrollment charges as well for your colleges, because those happen at the same time as senior activities. So you might owe a housing deposit of $500, but then you're trying to pay for a prom at the same time. So now is a really good time to forward plan about your finances for life after high school as well as your activities. So those activities would be senior picture day, click, click, click. Decision day is the fun one where we celebrate your exciting plans after high school. Luncheon is usually our student awards ceremony, but luncheon is kind of like an optional thing. Not all schools do it. So if that's something seniors didn't want, we could axe it. Sometimes it's just additional money for your family to shell out. Prom, graduation, actually drive-through graduation was really fun. So if you would want to do an outside graduation, that's something to think about and put together the finances, because it might cost a little more. Like the more you want to do, the more it might cost. So that's why you want to start talking as a class about what your activities should look like. And then senior shirts, yearbook, all that stuff really depends on student involvement. So if you all want a yearbook, you need a yearbook team, because I don't know how to do a yearbook. So definitely this is something, whoever the leaders of the class of 2021 are, start that group chat and start chatting about like what exciting things that you want to do. Okay. All of those are connected to senior requirements as well. We did shave down some of the senior requirements this year because of COVID. So seniors were required to do 5 college applications. They were only required to do, I think, 3 scholarships because of COVID. But CPS Academic Works is required as far as the general profile. FAFSA, and then the attendance requirement was waived because we're at home, so we didn't do that. And you meet those requirements once, so you have options for after high school if you change your mind. I have kids who start wanting to go to the military and end up being in college. I have several of those, or flip-flop. So just, be open-minded and really get to know yourself. We'll send you some tools to do that. Obviously no pressure to do it, but what will be happening is I work all summer. So I might take a vacation, we'll see, maybe a day or 2, but you are able to schedule a consultation with me. I really want to meet with you and your family. So if any parents are listening, guardians are listening, I want to, 1, help you understand what you need to graduate, but 2, we can form a college list for you so that you don't feel lost at the beginning of the year about where can I get in, where is the most affordable, what are my dream schools and how can I get there. And we can also help you with your personal statement so that you can be part of the $1 Million Scholarship Club. It is feasible, it's possible. I have several seniors, over half of them have scholarship money for college, and many of them have $500,000 in scholarships available. Ooh, that's a good question, Jamal. And then we are actually about in the question part. So we're going to answer questions in just a couple minutes. We're almost done. Ms. Vasquez is going to go, and then Mr. Sullivan is going to say something, but I saw the question there. And so go ahead and start popping your other questions in there, because the question part is just about here, basically. Go ahead, Ms. Vasquez.
Thank you, Mrs. Koshel. Yeah, I know we just talked all of your ears off. We're just trying to get all this information out there. And this will be sent out. So if you blinked and missed something, it'll be available to you. So I just want to talk quickly about summer school, because actually today I did get a lot of emails wondering about what's going on. So I'll give a brief explainer. Can I have the next slide, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just really enjoying my life over here in my house.
Sorry, take a break. You earned it. Okay, so summer school is going to be online again. So you need to be checking your emails. I know we've been saying this the whole time, but especially now, for specific information for you, if you happen to receive an incomplete this past semester, it's in your best interest to get it done over the summer. So over this weekend, over next week, be on the lookout from either emails from your counselor, so from me, or the district, or just anyone from CPS saying, hey, we've created this class, you need to click on this and get started. Okay, so you need to be looking at your emails. It should be a little bit easier now, hopefully, that you're not getting 1,000 emails a day from all your Google Classrooms. I know you guys were all overloaded with it. So please be looking at those. If you go to your Aspen under the transcript tab on the side, and there's a slash after Friday, that means you probably received an incomplete. You can always email me to verify. I'm happy to respond and say yes, no, let me look into it. But that slash means incomplete. So it doesn't factor in as an F into your transcript. It just means that you didn't do enough during this time you didn't do anything during this time in order to get the credit that you need to graduate. So incompletes during summer school, as far as I know, will be quicker to make up than if you had just straight up failed a class. They're not going to make you redo a semester's worth of, if it was English 3 or Exploring Computer Science. It's going to be just for the quarter that you missed, getting you reacclimated to the material and then giving you the credit that you've earned. Okay, so do not panic. It is okay. We will be in contact. Phillips will be in contact with you. If you have any previous Fs that you haven't made up, this would be a great time this summer to get that class taken care of. I would love it if as many students as possible started senior year in the green. It does happen that seniors don't graduate because they never made up a class from freshman year, right? So this is a great time. Everything is going to be online. People, are feeling really merciful and lenient. This is a fantastic time to make that up. So I will definitely be in touch too if you have an outstanding F, maybe like in algebra, English 1, English 2, etc. Okay, so mostly check your email. It's going to be online and you can do this. That's my little piece on summer school. I don't know if anyone has anything they would like to add.
No, basically same. You just want to get that out of the way. It's very stressful if you did fail something previously to be trying to master it senior year when you're supposed to be having fun and focusing on your future.
We just talked about all the things you have to do senior year.
Yeah.
You don't want to add night school, the stress of that on top of it.
Yeah.
I would, if you can get it done, and I know you can, do it. And it's, and to my knowledge, and this is correct, right? That it's, there's no charge this summer.
Nope, it's free.
Usually it's $25 per class.
That's what Danielle Cox-Jones said. Mr.
If you can get it done, to our understanding, as far as we know right now, there's no charge. So that is also a good incentive for students.
Okay. Great. I'm asking Mr. Sullivan to unmute himself. He looks like he got a haircut. I have not gotten my haircut yet. Then I'm going to
it's free.
Questions here, so I'm going to answer those right after this.
All right, I'll be quick. You guys, the ladies are fantastic in the counseling department. Tell your friends. I see the people in here. Chances are that you don't have any classes to make up and you passed everything this semester, but tell your friends about the summer school. Help each other out in this point. Put that in your group chats, put that on Facebook. So I can see your name, Antonio. We can't see your face, but I also feel your presence. Class of 2021. Here we go. We're going to go optimism all the way. We're going to somehow, some way throughout this school year, we're all going to be in that building eventually. We might not start art that way, but let's get in there by the second semester. Hopefully everybody, we have a full regular prom for you where we get handshakes and fist bumps and, house music and everything. Okay. So the class of 2020 did have a group chat where they did push each other, and we got almost every single one of them across that stage on Tuesday. So they really helped each other out. What I heard some themes throughout this meeting today is I heard individualized attention and support. Okay. It's wraparound services. These counselors are here for you. Please use them. Okay. And not to try to get out of class. Use them for support. Use them to, if there's a teacher you don't like talking to one-on-one, they can be a liaison between you and that teacher. They're fantastic at that. They've been doing it for years. use them in that aspect. And I'm just excited to get going with the class of 2021. You know, you can reach out to me directly. Many of you have multiple times. I will respond to any email from any kid I get. Mariah, I don't know if you're on here. I'll respond to you. I sent the locker stuff out already today to come in next Tuesday to get your locker belongings. Anything you left in there, it's all been pegged and tagged for you. But I look forward to a little bit more normalcy next year and a great celebration with you guys taking the SAT in the fall. And then having that opportunity, that's something that you're going to have an opportunity to retake it if you want to pretty quickly right after that one in the fall too. So we're here to support you, and we will continue to be the school that people look to on the South Side as the neighborhood school of choice. So thanks for inviting me and having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. If you have any more questions, I'm going to answer the 2 that I see, but if there's any more, I'm going to go for those 2. So beginning of the school year, are we still going on college trips? I don't know. If we're able to, for sure, we would take all of the seniors, as long as they're not acting crazy behaviorally and acting like a young, mature senior adult. You can go out of the building and go on a trip. I took all of them that were on the up and straighten up path on college trips last year. You definitely deserve more college trips than you got, admittedly so. What you can do right now in anticipation of that is to do virtual tours. It will still give you a feel of the campus. And it's not the same. Obviously, I'm not going to lie to you and say it's the same as being on a college campus, but it'll help. Like, they did a bunch of HBCU virtual tour days over the past couple of weeks, and it was enlightening for me as well. I saw some campuses that I was like, I don't think I would send a student there, and other ones that were absolutely gorgeous. Like Tennessee State is a good looking campus, no lie. So that's one thing you can do right now. There's something called Campus Reel you can use to look at colleges. I also really recommend that you talk to students who go to that school to see if they actually like it. And there's forums for that on Niche and Unigo and things like Rate My Professor. So start snooping now. But yes, the intention would be to take you on trips. I would love to go on a multi-day trip as well with students, like an overnight trip. We haven't done it in a couple of years. That requires funding. So you might have to pay some out of pocket if that's something we were able to do. But with COVID, unfortunately, everything is like, it's really up in the air. So please know, Jamel, that would be something that we would fully intend to do if we are able. Full list of scholarships for Talia and all students. Yes. So CPS Academic Works has an awesome Excel workbook with scholarships every single month laid out. So I will share that with you all. But if you sign up for their email blast as well, you will get scholarships all the time. So many so that you don't know how to keep up with them. That's why it'd be super helpful for you all to get all this stuff organized over the summer, so that it takes you like 10 minutes to pop a scholarship out and then you can move on. Like, I seriously helped Destiny do one that was due. It was due at like 5 o'clock on June 1st, and I helped her at 4:50, and we were able to do it. And she didn't even have the right prompt. We just kind of adjusted one of her essays to make it as close as we could to the prompt. So yeah, having all of these things organized for you ahead of time will help you get all those scholarships done. You could also use Google Calendar, which I don't know if you guys use that yet, but you could put little reminders for yourself about your scholarships being due, so it just nudges you to get them done. But yes, I can definitely send you a full list of scholarships. Any other questions from 2021? You probably have gotten a lot of emails from me from Naviance, but you can email me about any college and career stuff, anything, because I will be responding to you. Anybody? Okay. So if there aren't any other questions, here is our contact information. Yay! And there's you standing on a pink book graduating. Just picture yourself with the Twitters and the Instagrams being there, because it's gonna be over before you know it. The year flew right by. So the more prepared you are, the better. But there's Miss Vasquez's information, mine, and then Miss Ramsey if you have, again, like if you have those speed questions. And yeah, that's all we got. Thanks, class of 2021. We'll be following up with some resources for you all, and we look forward to getting you all straight over the summer. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a good
Bye,
evening.
thank you.